everyone. Today we're going to talk about hand coloring your images. So hopefully you've looked at some pieces that have been kind of created by other professional artists with hand coloring. But basically we're taking a black and white image and we're painting it with special photo oil paints. The oil paints actually come in little kits like this right here and have all different colors in it. This one that I grabbed just has the blue, yellow, and brown, which is all we're going to be using today. It also has some, this is like some solution to kind of do some erasing if you need to. You can use toothpicks or Q-tips. I have some Q-tips right here and some cotton balls. We don't actually paint it on, it's more like we rub it in and like burnish it into our photo, almost like a stain that we're adding. We want it to be very, very transparent. I have an example of one that I did in the past for students as an example. You'll notice how the flower is just this really, really light pink. It's like you can't even see like it's not a bright color, it's a very, very subtle color. And that's what hand coloring really is about, is this really subtle color. You can also see the green here that goes along with that. So that is what I'm going to show you how to do today. Okay, here I have a picture. This is actually a portion of a picture from another student that I'm going to do some hand coloring with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little piece of paper, just scrap paper. Here I'm using like a parchment paper. And I take a little tiny bit of paint. The thing about this oil paint is that you need way less than you think you do. So if I squeeze it on here, I'm just going to squeeze like the tiniest amount. I can always go back and add more later if I need to. So I'm using a brown. I'm going to actually paint this horse right here brown, but I'm going to do it, like I said before, with really, really subtle amounts of color. So I'm just going to dip my cotton ball in there. This paper wants to curl up. I'm just going to set it there. And then I'm going to start rubbing it into the picture. You'll notice it came on really dark at first. These oil paints do take a while to actually cure to the paper. It's easy to kind of erase them and manipulate them for a couple hours after you put them on there. And I'm realizing too that the paint that I put out here is actually more than enough. I don't think I'm gonna need to get any more. If I see any like streaks where maybe like the paint isn't even, all I have to do is kind of rub it some more to get rid of those streaks. It also probably means that there's too much paint in that one area. The nice thing about it is that you can just keep rubbing on your piece to make it lighter and just keep layering it on there to make it darker. All right. Make sure I get his ear here. I actually, by the time this is all said and done, I'm only using about half the paint that I squeezed out. So that kind of gives you an indication you really do not need very much at all. You'll also notice that the intention of the color is that it's only showing up on the parts of your photo that are lighter, okay? You're not going to be able to see this color in the really dark shadows. It's actually more subtle in those areas than it is on the rest. You mostly only see the color in the lighter parts. Let's say I wanted to do something a little bit more unusual. So I'm going to choose a different picture here. This is a picture by another student. This is Lindsay's picture. It's just a portion of it that she used as a test strip. I'm going to take and I'm going to do blue. Now the cool thing about hand coloring is that you can actually go very realistic or very unrealistic if you want to create more of like a dream-like look to it. I'm going to do a little bit with just my Q-tip here. The last one I did with a cotton ball. I like to Q-tip for smaller areas. So like in this case, if I want to do this person's shirt, I can paint it on with a Q-tip. We don't use brushes because like I said, we're burnishing the color in. We're not painting it on. So you can see how it's really, really dark and noticeable. That is far too dark. And I know it's far too dark because I can actually see the streaks that are kind of being created. So what I might do is I'm just going to flip my Q-tip over to the side that's clean and rub it in. And then if that side gets too painted, I can actually flip my whole Q-tip over to a cleaner side. And I just keep rubbing until the color is much more subtle. There you go. Look at that. You can see the subtle color that is there, and all of it's just this really, really light blue. And again, you can't see it in the shadows. You can only see it in the lighter parts of your picture. So when you're doing this, you can decide whether you want to do your whole picture. You can color the whole thing, or you can choose a part of your picture that you want to emphasize. Okay? What that also means is that when you're taking the photos for this project, that you need to make sure that you're choosing things that have a focal point, something that you can choose to color to create that focus. You're not going to want to take pictures of lines and textures really for this project. You'll want to do something much more intentional when you're shooting it. Okay? So there you go. There's hand coloring. I gave you some examples. Here's this one. And of course our horse right here, very subtle. And then the original flower. So just keep in mind that when you're doing this, like I said before, you want to choose something that is really subtle and also focal.